Look, has this ever happened to you? You walk to the kitchen, you get there, and you just stand there, staring at the cupboard. You came to get something, but what? It's gone, just gone. Or worse, you're talking with someone, and in the middle of the sentence you forget the word you wanted to say. That simple word that you've used 1,000 times in your life. You keep searching for it, you try to go around it, and in the end you just say, "That thing over there, you know." And then comes that feeling that is the one I hear most in my office. That fog in the head, as if your thoughts had to push through a mass of cotton. You are not dumb. You are not forgetful by nature. But something is different from 10 years ago. And you, alone with your thoughts, late at night, you ask yourself if this is the beginning. If this is how it started with your father, with your mother. I need to tell you something that most doctors in a quick appointment don't have time to explain. What you are feeling is not an inevitable punishment of time. It is something very specific, happening inside your brain. And science has already found a simple, accessible, and safe strategy to act on it. Stay with me, because what I'm going to show you today can change how you wake up tomorrow morning. Before we start, let me quickly introduce myself for those just arriving. I'm Dr. Kevin Vries. I've been a doctor for over 15 years, and during all that time, most of the patients I've followed are people over 60, dealing with those real day-to-day issues: memory, fatigue, joint pain, bad sleep, blood pressure, diabetes, those things nobody explains properly in a 15-minute consultation. And that's what led me to create this channel. To give you, in a simple way, the same information I give my patients inside the office. Without complicated technical jargon, without miraculous promises, without easy prescriptions. Just science, explained in a way that fits in your life. So if you're also going through this phase, stay here with me, because what I'm going to show you today is one of the interventions with the best scientific basis I know for the brain after 60. Pay attention to this. Your brain is the organ that consumes the most energy in your entire body. It weighs only 2% of your body weight, but consumes about 20% of all the energy you produce per day. Even while you sleep, it never stops. And here comes a detail that almost no one notices. With the years, the ability of your brain to produce this energy drops. Neurons start working with less efficiency. The mitochondria, which are the power plants inside each cell, start spinning slower. And the reserve that your brain uses to react quickly to the day's demands slowly runs out. This is what is really happening when you say, "My head is tired." It is not laziness. It is not lack of interest. It is an energy deficit, in the literal biochemical sense. I see this in my practice very often. The person arrives with complaints of memory, concentration, slow thinking, and hears that it's just age. But behind these complaints, there is an active process that can be treated. When someone starts complaining about memory, they almost always receive the same advice. Do crossword puzzles, learn a language, use an app to train your brain. And look, I'm not saying this is bad advice. Mental stimulation helps, a lot, but it's incomplete. And I see this all the time in my practice. Patients who read the newspaper every day, do crossword puzzles, and still arrive with the same complaints of fog and forgetfulness. It's as if you were a car without fuel and you tried to fix the engine by turning up the radio. The stimulation is there, but there's no fuel to react. Here enters a detail that almost no one notices. Studies published in major scientific journals have shown that there is a specific substance that acts directly on the energy production of brain cells. It replenishes the reserve, accelerates biochemical reactions, and improves mental performance in a measurable way, even in healthy older adults without a diagnosis of dementia. And this substance is not a medicine, doesn't require a prescription, is cheap, and has one of the best documented safety profiles in the scientific literature. Stay with me on this reasoning, because it's the key to everything. Your brain works on the basis of a molecule called ATP, which is the universal fuel of every cell in your body. When a neuron needs to pass a signal, recover a memory, or form a thought, it spends ATP. But here comes the part that few people know. Your brain doesn't have enough ATP reserve to work for a long time. It needs to regenerate ATP constantly, second by second. And to do that, it uses another molecule, phosphocreatine. Phosphocreatine is like an emergency battery that quickly restores ATP when demand increases. Think of it this way. Your brain has a checking account, the ATP, and a savings account, phosphocreatine. When the checking account empties quickly, it withdraws from savings to refill on the spot. That is what allows you to respond quickly, remember quickly, think clearly even under pressure. And here comes the key point. The amount of phosphocreatine in your brain can be increased through a specific substance, creatine. Your body produces creatine naturally, but with aging, that production drops. And if you eat little red meat, as most older people do, you receive even less creatine from your diet. The result is a brain running with the emergency battery nearly empty. Creatine. I know this name still scares a lot of people over 60. Most associate it with gym culture, with young people wanting to get muscular. But what science has discovered in the last 2 decades changes that image completely. Creatine is one of the most studied substances in human medicine. There are more than 1,000 published studies, and the results in older adults for cognitive function are impressive. Studies published in journals like Psychopharmacology and Proceedings of the Royal Society have shown clear improvement in working memory, reasoning speed, and mental fatigue. And there's research showing that creatine reduces the cognitive damage caused by lack of sleep. And look, who sleeps perfectly after 60? The mechanism is simple. When you take creatine every day, you saturate the phosphocreatine reserve in the brain. The savings account fills up. Your neurons now have more reserve available for quick responses. And there's still one more detail. Creatine doesn't only act on today's performance. It also has an antioxidant effect on brain cells, helping with long-term cognitive health. It's that rare combination of immediate action and protection for tomorrow. Before we continue, let me ask you something quick. If up to this point this content is helping you, do the following. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button too. That helps us a lot to reach more people your age who need this same information. Every week I come here with content like this, based on science, so you can age with more health and autonomy. Now let's get to what matters most, how to use all this in practice. 3 to 5 grams a day. A level teaspoon of creatine monohydrate every day mixed into your morning coffee. No loading phase, no cycling, no rigid timing. That's the protocol that the most robust studies recommend for adults over 50. Creatine powder has no taste. It dissolves in any liquid without altering the flavor. Coffee, juice, yogurt, water. One stir and done. Less than 10 seconds. I had a patient, 70 years old, who for almost 3 years had complained of morning brain fog and difficulty remembering names, even of friends he had known for 30 years. He had already done the tests. He didn't have Alzheimer's or dementia, but he could clearly feel that his thinking was not the same anymore. When we introduced creatine into his routine, along with a light walk, he started noticing a clear difference after about 4 weeks. The morning fog became lighter. The names came faster. And he said a phrase to me that stuck in my head. "Doctor, it's as if someone turned on a light in my head that had been off for years." Stay with me here because there is a detail of absorption that makes all the difference. Creatine is better absorbed when you take it with a source of carbohydrate, a fruit, a slice of bread, a little honey in the yogurt. That's why breakfast is the ideal moment. And a point of patience. The effect on cognition is not immediate like coffee's. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to saturate the reserves. So give it time. Consistency is much more important than quantity. Creatine alone is already powerful, but when you combine it with 2 other pillars, the effect multiplies. The first partner is omega-3, which you find in fatty fish or in a good quality fish oil supplement. Your brain is made of almost 60% fat, and DHA is a structural component of the membranes of your neurons. Without enough omega-3, those membranes become more rigid. Creatine gives energy. Omega-3 gives quality to the structure that will receive that energy. The second partner is quality sleep. During deep sleep, your brain activates something called the glymphatic system. It's like a cleaning crew that removes metabolic toxins from the cells. If you sleep poorly, that cleaning doesn't open up properly. Take sleep seriously. And beyond the brain, creatine still protects 3 more fronts. Muscle, fighting sarcopenia, that loss of muscle mass after 50. Bone, acting on the cells that form bone, especially important in postmenopause. And mood. Recent research associates creatine with the improvement of depressive symptoms, particularly when linked to mental fatigue. A single powder, cheap, tasteless, that acts on 4 fundamental fronts of healthy aging: brain, muscle, bone, and mood. In over 15 years of practice, rarely find an intervention with this balance of efficacy, safety, and reach. 3 warnings that every serious doctor gives before recommending creatine. First, if you have a diagnosis of serious kidney disease, talk to your doctor before starting. Creatine is safe for healthy kidneys. Dozens of studies confirm this. But in pre-existing kidney problems, medical follow-up is appropriate. Second, drink enough water. 1.5 to 2 liters a day, spread throughout the day. Third, and this is the most important for those who are going to buy, choose creatine monohydrate. In the market, there are dozens of forms with different names: creatine HCl, ethyl ester, nitrate, and many are sold as superior with a much higher price. The truth is that monohydrate is the most studied, the most effective, and also the cheapest. Don't be swayed by expensive versions. Look on the label for creatine monohydrate, preferably the micronized version, which dissolves more easily. In the description below this video, I left the link for the creatine I recommend, an option with good value for money and excellent consumer reviews, so you don't have to keep searching among hundreds of options. What we saw today is more than a breakfast tip. It is a way to regain control of your mind. Because when your brain has the energy it needs, you don't only change how fast you find a word, you change how you talk with your children and grandchildren, how you handle your own finances without needing to ask for help, how you read a book without having to reread the previous page, how secure you feel when someone asks you a question that requires a quick answer. Mental clarity is not a luxury, it is dignity, it is autonomy, it is continuing to be who you are in every sense. And that begins with a small choice, every morning, a teaspoon of creatine monohydrate, in the coffee you already drink. 10 seconds of your day, that, repeated over weeks and months, can change the caliber of how you think, remember, and live the coming years. Now tell me here in the comments, had you already heard about creatine for the brain? And at what moments does that brain fog bother you the most in your day-to-day? I read them all, and the best video ideas come from what you tell me. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Every week I come here with new information based on science, so you can age with more health, more autonomy, and more dignity. Thank you for staying with me until the end. And never forget, take good care of yourself. See you in the next video.